My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk, and we are going to be live in seconds on the air here, covering everything. Stand by. We're going to be covering everything that happened in Alaska and taking your calls. There we go. It's showtime. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast where MAGA comes to talk. And as each and every day of the historic and exciting second term of Trump, the non-consecutive second term of President Trump, there's always a lot to talk about for everyone. And I'm going to cover a lot of what happened at the Trump-Putin Alaska summit, which is being totally misrepresented by the media, of course, and so many others. We're also going to get insight from the lip reader on what Trump and Putin were talking about when the microphones weren't up to their mouths, and we're going to get some insight on that, which is very, very interesting. I find it fascinating, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit, and you are welcome to call in if you're watching live, all right? Okay, so let's get into it. The media are actually, of course, as I predicted this, and this is not some bold prediction. I think anybody with a lick of common sense could have predicted this one. No matter what President Trump did, no matter what happened in Alaska with Putin, the media were going to label it a failure, right? Was that ever a doubt in any of your mind? When have the media come out and ever said that President Trump did anything other than the wrong thing? They're consumed with their hatred of him. The Trump derangement syndrome has gotten to really what quite possibly could be its worst cases in recorded mental health history since he started making Washington, D.C. safe again. So they're having all these different meltdowns going on, and they just can't see straight in the media. So, what the media is talking about here is exactly what we expected, right? Oh, it's a disaster, nothing happened, and everything else. A lot happened. In fact, so much happened that President Trump did not want to share it with the world and the media until he gets things firmed up. And I thought that the press conference yesterday with President Trump and Putin was beautiful and spectacular. Every moment of it was, and I'll tell you why as the discussion goes on here. But first, one thing that President Trump has done in this second and non-consecutive term that is completely different than the way he conducted himself in the first term is his relationship with the press. In President Trump's first term, he would spend a lot of time going around in circles with these jerks from the fake news media, Jim Acosta and others, trying to convince the media of what he was doing and that what he was doing was the right thing. And if you followed President Trump in this second term, he doesn't pay any attention to the media. In fact, I don't think he spends his days watching it all that much. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't watch highlights here and there, but the main problem that the media have is that he's not paying attention to them. And after he had this meeting, which the president said on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 10 out of 10, he didn't come out and try to convince the media that he had done something great that deserves praise. And the media, they think that he's a man with a fragile ego that always needs massaged and all this stuff. In fact, the opposite is true of President Trump. They're the ones with the egos that need to be massaged all the time. And this idiot with no lips and no talent, Caitlin Collins, who had her clock cleaned by President Trump on that one-on-one interview during the campaign, she let the cat out of the bag. She's talking to this idiot, Jake Tapper. It's almost a hot mic moment. Caitlin Collins said something on camera into the microphone talking to this jerk, Jake Tapper, that they're not supposed to be saying on television. Listen to this.
And then also, Trump is so often shaped by the coverage of what he sees. And if there is this coverage that he came to this summit and it was a failed summit because it didn't...
Okay, see what you're saying? So she's saying, well, if the media say that it's a failed summit, he'll see it as a failed summit, and he'll come out and he'll do this. These people are so full of themselves. Do you think that President Trump in this second term gives 1 millisecond of thought about what the media say? You know, this changed slowly over time, but the final straw was President Trump when the Never Trumpers shot him in Butler. He's done with these people. He's done with these people. They've arrested him. They've got mugshots. They tried to put him in prison. The only reason President Trump is not in prison is because he won the election. That corrupt judge, Judge Mershon in New York, would have put President Trump in prison if he had not won the election. And he doesn't care what these people think because he knows that they will do whatever they can do to stop him and his agenda, and he's not going to convince them of anything. And Caitlin Collins, with that little smirk on her lipless face, says that, oh, well, if we go out there and say it was a failure, he'll react. He's not going to react to jack. And what the media wanted, they wanted to have this Q&A where they could attack Putin. Because if you remember, the liberals had been saying that, Putin's a war criminal and he should be arrested, and how dare he allow him to set foot on American soil, blah, 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 blah. Here's the reality of the situation with Ukraine, okay, in my view. And you can agree or disagree with this, but Ukraine, I view it as a civil war, okay? Ukraine was part of Russia, part of the Soviet Union for a long, long time. And I know they've been an independent country for a long time, but he views it as a civil war. And I got news for you. You may say, well, they're an independent country. Well, Abraham Lincoln, who was a lot less popular than Donald Trump, no doubt about that. Abraham Lincoln, when the states left the Union and formed their own country during the Democrat insurrection, right? The Democrats didn't like the outcome of the election of 1860, and they say, we're leaving the Union, we're forming our own country so we can still own black people and have our slavery going on, the Confederate States of America. And President Lincoln said, you can't just leave. You can't leave the Union and form your own country. You Democrat insurrectionists. We had the Civil War, and about 1 million Americans died. And we're still paying the price of that because the Democrat insurrection has never ended. Well, that was the Union of the United States of America. And that was President Lincoln's position, as many of our great ancestors who fought in the Civil War. I have family that fought in the Civil War for the Union. That's right, for the North, against slavery, to end slavery. But Putin's position is that Ukraine is part of his union, the Soviet Union. And I'm not saying that Putin was right invading Ukraine. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm telling you is this. This is not a typical war. It is a civil war. That's how I view it. What are your thoughts? And I think that's how Putin views it. And when you are dealing with a negotiation on something, you've got to deal with that person you're dealing with their reality. And that is Putin. Putin's reality is Ukraine belongs to Russia. And President Trump and Putin came to an agreement yesterday on most everything. He said there was one big thing they didn't, but there was a lot of things they did and some major things they did. And my guess is that it involves in some way, shape, or form Putin not giving back the land that he's taken in the war. He probably wants to keep all of the land that he wants all of Ukraine. We all know that. If Putin took all of Ukraine, why should I care? Why should any American care? You know, President Trump, when he was being interviewed by Bret Baier on Air Force One on the way to Alaska yesterday, he's like, this is not my war. This is Biden's war, and I want to get this over so I can get back to taking care of our country. But if Russia took Ukraine, so what? How would it affect your life, my life, or the United States of America in any negative way? Now, again, I'm not supporting what Putin did here, but he did it. You got to deal with what he did, what happened, and how he views it if you want to have any. So Zelensky is coming to the White House on Monday to have a one-on-one in-person meeting with the president, and President Trump is going to lay out to Putin, to Zelensky, what Putin says he'll agree to. And whatever it is, Putin, you know, he could have done everything on a phone call if it wasn't major. President Trump and Putin came to some understanding. Putin said, this is what it is. And President Trump said, okay, I'm going to go to Zelensky with this. I'm not going to go out there to Caitlin Collins and all these other idiots in the press and tell them what our secret is and have them destroy it. You know, remember, Putin said Europe needs to stay out of this and not mess up what they've talked about. If President Trump would have come out yesterday with Putin and they would have laid out everything, the media would have destroyed everything. They would have been all over it and destroyed everything. Obviously, President Trump and Putin came to some type of agreement, and that's why Zelensky, in his costume that he wears, so he looks like, you know, his black sweater and pants and all that, he's going to come to the White House, and President Trump is going to say, this is what Putin said he'll agree to. Now, you got to understand, Zelensky does not want to end the war. Zelensky has suspended elections. He is president beyond his term. He is a dictator now, Zelensky. So those of you that think democracy is so important, tell Zelensky to have an election. But what Zelensky has said and what he's put through in law over there, and just because it's the law doesn't mean it's legal, but he's a dictator, that when the war is over, there'll be an election. So the last thing he wants is an end to the war, because then there'll be an election, and then the money stops coming into his Cayman and Swiss bank accounts. But obviously, Trump and Putin came up with some type of agreement to end this war, or Zelensky would not be flying to Washington on Monday to have a private, secret meeting with the president to go over these proposed terms from Putin. He could have, if it was a nothing, he could have said, well, on the phone, he could have called them for a minute and said, we got nothing. But he doesn't want to do it on the phone because you got jerks like Vindman that are spying and leaking it out, like that traitor who should be in Leavenworth. So don't pay attention to the media. The media, one of the things they're freaked out about is not only did they not get a chance to bark and yell at Putin and Trump and call him this and call him that, they didn't get any material. They got nothing to go with. They don't know what happened. They have no sources. So anytime you hear CNN or MSNBC or the New York Times say they have sources in the White House, they don't have jack, because they got nothing to say about this yesterday. If they had sources, they'd have some information leaking out. And here we are, 12 hours later as of the time I'm live streaming, and there's been no leak. So anytime these people in the media say they have White House sources, they're lying. Now, I'd like to hear your thoughts. If you are listening live and watching on YouTube Live, you can call in. The number is pinned in the live chat on YouTube. It's 888-465-2631. The Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms. If there's a podcast platform, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on it. Just search for us there. But if you follow me on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube, you can catch the podcast live. And that's when you can call in. All right, I'll take a call or two before we take our first break. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Richie. Hey, Richie, hold on a second here. I didn't hook up everything yet. Hold on, let me hook up everything. I'm sorry, guys. It's the weekend, and usually I have everything connected, but I'm behind on my coffee. Taking it easy on a weekend. Hold on. All right, there we go. All right, now everybody can hear you, Richie. Go ahead.
Yeah, I respect your opinion, but I don't agree with it.
All right.
I agree. First of all, I agree that Putin is a tyrant, a killer, and I do think we should care because what happens here. Listen, I believe that Ukraine's got to give up some land. I don't believe it's all that's been captured. I think there's going to probably be a demilitarized zone, and there has to be guarantees to Putin that Ukraine will never join NATO.
Well, hold on a second here, because this is. You said you don't agree, so none of us know what happened. Hold on, let me lay out the premise and then tell me why. None of us know what happened in the meeting. Okay,
Right.
No one knows. In the press, nothing's leaked out, so they got no sources. We do know this. We know a couple of things. President Trump did that interview with Brett Baer on Air Force One, which I watched all of it, and he said if there's no deal, if he's not a deal maker, he says I'll either do the press event alone or I'll just leave. So he did it with Putin. Okay, so that's one sign, and he summoned Zelensky to the White House, who's going to be at the White House for a private meeting on Monday. So obviously there's some terms that are going over, Richie, or he would have just told him on the phone, we got nothing.
Yeah, he's probably got to give up some territory. I don't think he's got to give up everything that Russia's taken over, but I think there's got to be a compromise there. The point that I'm bringing up is you come and they can never join NATO. That's got to be a stipulation because that's why this started. Because stupid Biden. They were pushing that Ukraine join NATO. That's
what caused the war. Biden with this Ukraine talk is what started the whole war. Biden is responsible for this war directly through all this NATO-Ukraine talk.
100%. Now, here's the deal. Who do you think is watching all this, what's going on right now, with a little island called Taiwan?
Yeah, sure,
so
China.
But if you come out and say, why should we care about this? China's watching what we do with Ukraine. If we just give away the farm, just to stop
Taiwan's different.
You think China thinks they're different?
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's the only thing.
China. By the way, China calls Taiwan China. Okay,
right.
They own it, and Taiwan calls themselves China too. They say they're the real China. But no, we're not. If nothing was agreed to, if there was no serious proposal, why did Trump do the joint press event and summon Zelensky?
No, there was. Yeah, the press are looking for Trump to screw up because they're leftist crazy people. I agree with you there. I mean, there was a thing. It's going to be up to Zelensky, okay?
Yeah.
Because if he says okay, and that's the whole thing.
That's true.
But
who's crazy?
But I think they're both crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Putin's a nut job too. That he could care less about.
Well, you see, what you got to understand, anytime you hear Putin talk, he talked yesterday, and that Tucker interview. Anytime you hear Putin talk, mostly what he talks about is history. He's very interested in the past and history, right? And that's he wants the Soviet Union back. And he believes
100%.
that Ukraine is part of Russia. I mean, that's you got to I'm not saying that that's right, but that's his perspective. So that's what you got to deal with his reality. And they're both nuts. Zelensky and Putin are both nuts.
And so the reality is this: that President Trump did the greatest thing in the world by making Europe, who are a bunch of leftists themselves and socialists, put money aside to defend themselves so we don't have to get involved. And they're buying our weapons, and we're not spending any money at this point.
That's right.
So Trump is a genius.
Absolutely.
Trump is a genius.
He is.
And the press here, forget the press here. I mean, I look at that and I say, oh, here they go again. Even that blonde on Fox tried to attack Trump in the very beginning.
Well, yeah, the blonde on Fox, her name Jackie, whatever her name is, she's engaged to marry a member of Congress, so now she's part of the inner circle, so she's going to be filled with Trump hate.
I looked it up. I looked it up. She's married. The guy is like he's like 16 years older than her, and he looks. I was. They're all involved with each other, Brian. Like you said, there's so much incest.
She's sleeping. She's married. She's sleeping with the establishment.
Yeah, the whole thing is unbelievable. Washington D.C. is a real pit, and President Trump, believe it or not, is the only. You believe it? He's the only decent human being up there.
See, everyone is saying that Trump was pissed and it was a failure. First off, if it was a failure and he was pissed, he wouldn't have done the event with Putin. He either would have just left or done a solo event and said, this guy's not a deal maker. And the second, if he wouldn't have let Putin speak first. He would have spoken first and last. It's our country.
Putin came out there and told America, and it wasn't sucking up to Trump. The truth is that Trump was saying it all along. Biden started this crap because he was incompetent. And the Democratic Party's incompetent. They're all incompetent up there. But,
yes.
The only genius in there is Trump. And we do agree here that he's going to give away some land. And if Zelensky doesn't go along with this, the war will last.
No, you're right. There needs to be some type of North-South Korea U.S. DMZ where you don't have, if you have no buffer with the United States in there, there's going to be it's going to be like the Jews and Gaza. It's got to be, you know what I mean? You got to have us in there to keep the peace.
But the DMZ, somebody's going to have to be on that border because the DMZ.
It would have to be us.
Not good anymore.
It would have to be us.
Yeah, because they're shooting. They'll be shooting stuff from. What's going to stop?
It'll be nonstop.
Coming in.
Nonstop.
No DMZ is going to stop it. Yeah, we have to have a force in there that's going to protect both sides that they won't.
But yeah, exactly. And here's another big secret. Okay, you may disagree. Russia is not our enemy. They've never been our enemy. The Cold War was total BS.
World War II.
Yeah, we wouldn't. The war may not have been won if it was. The Russian losses were much heavier than the Allied losses. They kept them busy on the Eastern Front, and we may not have won that war without Russia. The Cold War was BS. They're not our enemy.
Brian,
go ahead.
You know why they're not our enemy, Brian? And it tells you right now, they're still trying to use Russia against Trump.
Correct.
They did that lie. So the whole lie, the Cold War was the same
That's
lie
right.
that they tried to pull on Trump.
That's right. All right, Richie, I gotta run, but I appreciate the call. If you're new to the program, make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. My name is Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. Call us on hold. You stand by. We're going to take a break and be right back. All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. Make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are tuned in on. Okay, we're talking about the Putin-Trump summit yesterday, which President Trump says was a 10 out of 10. I'll take some more calls. We'll get into the lip reading, which is fascinating in just a bit. But let me take some of these calls first. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Matt. I'm from Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Hold on, Matt. Let me just answer all my phones that are ringing off the hook. All right, Matt in Ohio. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I wanted to clear up two things. When you started off with Trump not wanting war, he was the one that was selling Ukraine high-velocity missiles before Russia ever invaded. So he's never been anti-war. He's always been pro-industrial complex.
All right, slow down. Let me dispense with that lie. And I live in Florida. I've lived here since I was a child, but my hometown's Columbus, Ohio. Our great vice president is from Ohio, and it really saddens and maybe even disgusts me to hear a fellow Buckeye trashing the greatest president we've had in our lifetime, Donald Trump.
No, well, real quick, he's not the greatest president. It's not over.
What president was greater than what president in our lifetime was greater than Trump?
Define our lifetime. How old are we?
How old are we? I know. Well, I'm 54.
Yeah.
Richard Nixon was president when I was born. Okay, so I was born when Nixon was president. You were born when Gerald Ford was president. So from Nixon to now, who's been greater than Trump?
Reagan.
What did Reagan do that was greater?
What Reagan did was bring back national pride. The one thing I was against Reagan was his amnesty.
National pride. Yeah, he brought back amnesty.
Pride, yes.
You know, and there was a terrorist attack pretty much every weekend with a plane hijacking off to someplace. No, I'm sorry. And to talk about American pride, I asked you what Reagan did was greater, and you said American pride. My goodness, there's never been so much pride as we have now. But let me get back to what you said. No. What happened with Putin, and the reason that he invaded Ukraine is because Biden was making a move to get Ukraine to join NATO. And Putin had long said that would be a big problem, don't do it. And what Biden did with Zelensky, but what Biden did was instigate this war. He wanted this war. That's why, and President Trump has always been anti-war. He was opposed to the war. He was opposed to the war in Vietnam. He was opposed to the war in Iraq, the second one after the Bush-Cheney war crimes. He was opposed to that, and he's been ending wars all over the world in this second term. So to accuse him of being part of the military-industrial complex, you're either a liar or just ignorant. I don't know which. But you know.
Okay, my turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so here we go. He could have ended the war yesterday if he brought U.S. Special Forces and stopped funding day one. He didn't. Zelensky came to the United States and really talked down to him, still got all the funding he wanted. Trump has never stopped any funding.
The funding was the funding that you're talking about. You don't have to talk so fast. You're out of breath. It's okay.
Oh,
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm walking right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm walking.
And you're talking fast. Okay. Walking, talking, and watching me on YouTube. That's cool. Okay, no, the funding.
I was listening on my phone.
Okay, the funding you're talking about was passed through legislation, signed into law by. I don't know if it was by Biden or the auto pen, but one of them. So that is not funding that Trump could have ended.
Well, Trump could.
No, he can't end. It's law. It's law.
Trump could have pulled all special forces, all logistics out day one. The war's over. Correct.
And Ukraine would have been overrun. Correct. Yes, he could have surrendered Ukraine to Russia. Absolutely. Yeah, that would have been. That's a great idea. Oh my goodness.
Wait. You just went on a rant about why should any American care about Ukraine?
That wasn't a rant. That was a monologue, an analysis on this situation. What you're doing is a thoughtless rant.
Fantastic. So your monologue is wrong because we shouldn't care about Ukraine. I'm America first, second, and third. I don't give a flying.
Don't say,
yeah. About what happens in Ukraine. Yeah, I don't care what happens in Ukraine. And that's the whole thing. All I care about is Americans. And I know that we've lost every war that we've been in since the 80s. We've gutted the American, especially the Midwest. We've gutted all of America.
We've lost every war. Now listen, Biden screwed up Afghanistan, but Iraq. Iraq is a democracy now, which they never. And
really?
and if you remember, you're old enough to remember when. Hold on, I'm going to answer all these lines while I'm talking. But when Saddam Hussein when Saddam Hussein was in power, it was like every other weekend there was some airstrike going on in Iraq. No, we have not lost every war since the Second World War. And by the way, we didn't lose Korea. By the way, we didn't lose.
Yeah. So wait, hold on. What did we win then?
When where?
Besides any of these wars, besides American treasure and American blood, what have we won?
We have a free South Korea, which was the goal of that conflict. We have Saddam Hussein out of power, and there's a thriving democracy in Iraq.
So you're telling me Iraq is a thriving democracy?
Sure.
After we killed 1 million Iraqis.
I'm not in favor. I'm not supporting the war crimes of Cheney and Bush, who lied about WMDs. But there was a positive outcome that it's a democracy now.
How's 1 million people dying a positive outcome?
1 million people died. Excuse me. 1 million people died in the American Civil War. All of them Americans. Was there a positive outcome from that?
I'm so glad you brought that up because the American Civil War never should have happened. We agreed on that.
Well, the Democrats,
Abraham Lincoln was a tyrant. Did he not suspend habeas corpus?
After the war began, yeah, because everybody was a spy, he did that. But no, the Democrats, when the Democrats in 1860 do what they always do when they lose an election, they cry foul. You know, they didn't even have Lincoln on the ballot in the southern states. He still won. And the Democrat insurrection has never ended.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that meaningless war. No one needed to die over slavery. 3% of Americans actually own slaves.
Oh, my goodness.
All
right. All right. I appreciate the call. I mean, you know, who fired first? He's arguing in favor of slavery. That's what you got, guys. That's your never Trumper Democrat. Arguing in favor of maintaining slavery in 1860. There you go, guys. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Renee from Boston.
Oh, hey, Renee. You're up early on a weekend.
Well, yeah, it happens.
I guess with your life, Saturday, Friday, Monday, all the days are the same, right?
You really should not talk about things you don't know.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. The thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that Trump is definitely kissing Putin's feet right now because Putin is loving this whole exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Trump will do anything Putin wants. He calls him an extraordinary...
Really? Slow down. Give me an example of something he did that Putin wants that's a desperate move.
That's something that Trump did?
You said, he's stuttering now. You said that President Trump will do anything that Putin wants. In this second term, give me an example of something out of character that Trump did only because Putin wanted him to do it.
Well, character is the operative word. He doesn't have character. But the thing that he's going to do...
No, not going to do. I said do. You said do. You said he'll do whatever Trump wants. What has he done in this second term? Give me an example of something he's done.
He'll do anything Putin wants.
What is he...
extraordinary.
Uh-huh.
He's going to kiss his feet. After all, he's got that golden shower video.
You're an embarrassment. You made a statement. I'm asking you to back it up. Your statement was that Trump will do anything Putin wants. Give me an example of something in this second term that President Trump has done that's out of character that he otherwise wouldn't have done because Putin wanted it done.
Well, he's not going to interfere in Ukraine, that's for sure.
What are you talking about? We're still arming Ukraine. Of course, we're still arming them. Oh my goodness, weak. Oh my goodness. I'm Brian. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, available on all podcast platforms. And if you would like to find us on the podcast platforms, just search for The Brian Craig Show. It'll pop up. And if you want to catch the show live, when I'm taking live calls and even maybe call in yourself, follow me on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay, you missed out. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
You know, these media people are smug, self-righteous, and self-aggrandizing.
Self-important.
And self-important. You know, the no-lips person, this no-lips woman.
Caitlin Collins.
The same woman that he ran, he steamrolled at that town hall meeting.
Oh, yes.
He steamrolled her,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's no doubt. And as far as that called earlier that said 3% owned, that using this 3% owned slaves line.
Yeah.
The problem for him is not the 3%, is who were the 3%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were all Democrats.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. The Democrat insurrection didn't stop with the end of the Civil War. It's been
true.
going on ever since.
That's true.
You know?
That is correct.
I mean, they assassinated President Lincoln. They assassinated another president, JFK.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of Nixon.
That's right.
All right. You know, and they tried to assassinate President Reagan, and now this with the.
And they tried to assassinate President Trump multiple times. They even shot him. They shot Reagan. They shot Trump. Yep.
So the coup and this deep state have.
Oh yes,
and don't
and don't forget, John Wilkes Booth was a Democrat.
And he was an actor.
That's correct. If there was he was like the Hollywood liberal of the day. There was no Hollywood yet, but he was like that. You know, it would be like Alec Baldwin or Matt Damon or someone. You know, he wasn't an A-list actor. He was kind of like he wasn't an A-list actor at the time, but he was still a well-known actor.
Basically, he was Kathy Griffin.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Mike in Louisiana. Yeah. Oh boy, Kathy Griffin. I hate to think about that in my head. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Kyle Benson calling in from Ohio.
Oh, all right. Go ahead, Kyle in Ohio.
Hey, well, let's just talk about this authoritarian fascist oligarch.
Zelensky? You talking about Linsky? Zelensky?
I'm talking about Donald J. Trump.
Oh, I'll tell you, the reason I thought it was Zelensky is because his term of office is over and he suspended elections until after the war. So when you talk about dictator, I just assumed you meant Zelensky, since he suspended elections and his term is up.
Suspended elections? Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about the guy. I'm not really worried.
Oh, okay. Okay, well then tell me about Trump. You said Trump's a dictator? Explain. You said he's a fascist dictator? Can you walk me through that? What am I missing?
Yeah, right.
I think he's the greatest president this country's ever had. Tell me why you say those terrible things about him.
Authoritarian playbook, left and right. I mean, he's censoring the media. That's a big thing.
Oh, slow down. I want to go through these. I want to slow down. You said authoritarian dictator. He just won a few months ago a national election. He won every one of the battleground toss-up states, and he won the popular vote for this miraculous non-consecutive historical second term. But you said that he's silencing. You said that he's that means that people supported him and voted for him. But you said he silences the media. What media has he silenced?
Oh, absolutely. You take a look at CNN or NBC. You look at.
But wait a second. I was just watching CNN and NBC last night during the summit. I didn't check in this morning. Did Trump take CNN and NBC off the air? Or are they still on the air?
Well, I'll tell you what he did. I'll tell you exactly.
Okay.
They're investigating every major news organization except suspiciously Fox News because they
No. Excuse me. I didn't say no. You said that he has silenced media that disagrees with him. So what media? So this is what I want to know. What media was against him that since he's been back in office, he is silenced and are no longer out there? I missed that.
Well, here's why the investigation by the FCC and the bogus lawsuits are a form of silencing.
No. We're talking about who was on in the media, right? Any form that had a forum that no longer has it because of Trump.
I didn't make that specific claim.
Well, you said that he's silencing media. You're saying that he's silencing media who doesn't. So what media had a voice that is now has no voice directly because of Trump? That Trump shut down their voice.
Well, I can tell you the results of that.
No, maybe you should retract your statement.
You know what? Maybe you should let me get to my point.
Yeah.
Here's the whole thing I'm saying. Here's why this is silencing media. If he's going to go after organizations with these completely bogus lawsuits, and if you look into it, it's so.
You mean like E. Jean Carroll's lawsuit against Trump? I thought you guys like lawsuits then. Now lawsuits are fascist. So yeah, I'm a little confused. What is your other beef? Well, you've already lost this one. What's your next beef? You said Trump's a fascist dictator. What's your next example? Since we already took down the first one.
You're not going to let me say what I need to say because you know it's detrimental to your world.
No, you're still on the air. I haven't knocked you off. What's your next example of fascism?
There, and then I'll interject my show. Well, it's actually
it's my show.
Complete non sequitur.
It's my show. I can,
So I noticed you got a Trump 2028 hat. That's not an authoritarian fascist move, running illegally for a third term.
Has Trump announced he's running?
He's stated interest in it.
Yeah.
He's talking
what about that? What about that's illegal? What about that is illegal?
You're allowed to serve 2 terms.
There's a constitutional amendment that was passed after Roosevelt, okay, which was passed in the early 50s. Prior to it was around 52-ish. I don't remember the exact year. But until then, throughout the majority of our American history, there were no term limits. And there's a little thing called constitutional amendments. The Constitution's been amended 27 times. So you could amend the Constitution to do away with presidential term limits. He hung up. I did not hang up on him. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm JP. I'm calling from Lakewood Park. I got one question. Look dead into the fucking camera when you answer it.
Don't talk to me like that. Okay. Excuse me. No, excuse me.
Well,
no, I'm not going to do what you did. No, you're not going to talk to me like that and then expect me to cooperate. Behave like a gentleman. Be a gentleman, and then maybe.
Okay, I'll be nice to you. Look at the camera and answer the question for me.
No.
Look at the camera.
No, I'm not going to do whatever you want me to do. What am I, a puppet? A marionette? I don't think so. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your name? Go ahead. You got a bad connection there. Speak up. Okay. Well, if you're on hold, stand by, because there are a couple of articles I do want to get to, including this, which I planned on getting to earlier in the program. Oh, my goodness. You know how you know Trump's winning? Listen to the left in the anger. When I've mentioned this to those of you that are longtime listeners. By the way, if you're new to the program, make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. When Obama won and was reelected, liberals were calling in laughing at me. Okay? Ha ha, you lost. They were in a good mood. When they're miserable and unhinged like this, that means we're winning and they're losing. So I came across this today, the lip reader. When I saw President Trump greet Putin on the red carpet, they were talking with one another. And I've never heard Putin speak English before until yesterday at that press conference at the end of the summit. And I was telling my wife as we were watching this, oh man, I wish they'd get the lip reader out to tell us what they're talking about. Well, now we know. Listen to this. This is in the Daily Mail. And I did post this on X at Brian Craig Show. This is in today's Daily Mail. A lip reader has revealed what exactly President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin whispered to each other on the airport tarmac as they met for a high-stakes meeting about ending the war in Ukraine. The two leaders shook hands for the first time in 6 years Friday in a charged moment in Anchorage before they climbed into the same motorcade to begin the historic talks. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they both got in the beast. I was surprised at that. In a moment watched around the world, Trump dutifully waited on the red carpet for his Russian counterpart to descend the stairs of his aircraft. The U.S. leader seemed somewhat impatient, with a lip reader telling the Daily Mail the very first word of their encounter was Trump saying, "Finally." That wasn't impatience about that moment. Finally was like, finally we can talk and end this war. That's what finally meant. But this is what the lip reader says they said. As they shook hands, Trump said, according to the lip reader, "You made it. Fantastic to see you and appreciated." The lip reader told the Daily Mail that the two presidents both promised to help each other during the cordial greeting. "Thank you and thank you. I am here to help you," Putin replied. Trump jovially responded, "I'll help you." Okay, this is all according to the lip reader. This is all during the red carpet walk. Putin then reportedly told Trump he will bring it to a rest if asked. All they need is ask, Putin said. "I hope it does," Trump replied before turning towards their waiting vehicle and saying, "Come on, let's get straight into the vehicle. We need to move forward, both giving it attention. I know this is serious. It's quite long. What a journey it is." Trump then asked the Russian leader if he wanted the scoop, to which Putin replied, "Give me the scoop." Also, Putin knows like American slang, too. "It's cargo fuel," Trump replied. It's unclear what exactly they were discussing. After stepping up to the podium, Trump instructed Putin to shake his hand because it gives a good impression, the lip reader says. Putin nodded and stuck out his hand. "Thank you," he replied. During the brief moment on the podium, the Russian leader ignored journalist questions about Ukraine and the killing of civilians. The two leaders got into a waiting vehicle, which was the president's car, the Beast, together, and were seen smiling inside as they drove it to a separate building for the meeting. Moments before Trump's plane touched down, the White House announced the planned one-on-one meeting between the world leaders was off the table. Putin and Trump are instead holding talks with two of their top aides. Let's see here. On his way to Anchorage, Trump, okay, then it goes into what he said. So we got some interesting small talk, and they were getting along. And it seems that Putin would like to end the hostilities. He said, just got to say it. So I thought that was interesting. And it backs up what I started the program about by telling you that they came to some agreement. And Trump's going to run it by Zelensky come Monday. All right, let's take another call or two. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Randall. I'm calling from North Carolina.
Hey, what's up, North Carolina?
Hey, so I guess just a few things. The first thing, the previous caller was talking about censorship and how Donald Trump is going about censoring the media.
Yes.
So I won't say that he's he shut down PBS, which is public broadcasting, and that's already
no. Excuse me. He is not. He is not. No, slow down. That is inaccurate. He has not shut down PBS. Go turn on your television when you're done watching me. They are still on the air, as is public radio. They have cut the public funding of public broadcasting. They're still on the air. They haven't been shut down.
Wouldn't that so? Yeah, because they have funds still, but at a certain point they're going to run out. Because
no, they're not. They got. You know, they make tons of money off the merchandising from Sesame Street alone to fund that crap. No. And they also have advertisers, which they're not supposed to have, and they have members that pay a monthly thing to PBS and NPR. So no, they are on the air, both National Public Radio and PBS. They have not gone off the air.
For now. How about threatening
Ron,
litigation with company
Go ahead.
with CNN and MSNBC because he didn't like the polls that were being placed in
That's
the
not.
2024
That's not.
election?
That they're still on
do
the
you
air.
think
He
that-
hasn't.
that-
No, they're still on the air. He hasn't taken them off the air. What the caller said is he has
litigation
silenced.
itself, that's actually it's not actually him. It's him putting the fear of them
Really?
to not.
So that's
for-
why.
if they don't do.
Oh,
what
that's
he says,
interesting.
for
So
them,
so when
it's gonna
E.
go
Okay,
ahead.
so that's interesting. So when E. Jean Carroll and Letitia James filed frivolous lawsuits and they arrested Trump a bunch of times, that was okay, or was that
Those
to
are
was that to
separate
silence him?
matters, aren't they?
Was that was that okay, or were they trying to silence
Jean
Trump?
Carroll was a civil.
Well, so are these media lawsuits by Trump are civil suits too.
He defamed her by saying he didn't.
Well, Trump believes that CNN believes that, or Trump believes CNN has defamed him.
Yeah.
So why is it okay?
United
Hold
States.
on.
Eugene
Why
Carroll
is it?
is
This
a
is my
private citizen.
this is my question. This is my question. Why is it okay for E. Jean Carroll to sue Trump, but Trump can't sue CNN? I don't understand that.
Because Trump is the president, and that
So what?
pulpit is a lot
Oh,
more than
really?
Eugene Carroll has.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's an out. That's not.
Oh, really? Hold on a
Yes,
second.
Eugene Carroll is not the president.
I'm not.
She's
I don't
in
know.
office.
I don't know the law as well as you do. You know, our constitutional guarantees that we have, as well as you do. So this is interesting. So you're saying that when you become president, you lose your rights. You have fewer rights as president than when you are not.
So,
I'm confused.
would you be okay with Biden suing Fox for all the lies that they spewed about
Sure,
him?
let
over
him.
the
Let
course
him.
of his
Yeah, he
term?
could have. Sure, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm not some partisan hack. I mean, I love Trump and I'll never disagree with Trump. But yeah, if Biden wanted to sue Fox, that'd be fine. What? Let me get to the real heart of this though. Why? No, not how about. I got a question for you.
Okay.
I've answered a few of yours. Why? What's the real reason you don't like President Trump?
because he's a fascist dictator who's allowing authoritarianism into our government.
Oh, there's a lot of fancy
into
college
our
boy
streets
words.
by bringing the national.
Yeah. What state? Our
I
state?
didn't go to college.
Our state? You said, what state is he suspending rights with the army?
The nation itself. He brought the National Guard into Los Angeles. He brought the National Guard into Washington, D.C., which is
Okay. Two things. No, excuse me. The Washington, D.C. is not a state, and it's not an independent governed city.
It's
It
to
is.
bring the military
Excuse
onto
me.
our public streets.
Excuse me.
That's actually
Excuse me. Let me finish my. You see, you didn't go to college, but you did graduate high school, but you obviously didn't learn. The District of Columbia is not a state, and it's not an independent city. It is the federal city governed by the federal government. The mayor and city council are figureheads, and that city is under attack by criminal terrorists.
Los Angeles.
I'll get to that in a second.
Los
I'm going to
Angeles?
get to Los Angeles.
California.
Excuse me. I'll get to that in a second, but I want to finish with Washington, D.C.
Do you have a source? Do you have a source?
A source of what? That Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States? Yeah, every book about the United States ever written since they established it.
Like for that.
Listen, I'm a 54-year-old man. I have a lot of life experience. I'm not talking about Los Angeles yet. I'm talking about D.C.
Do you live in Los Angeles?
Washington, excuse me, I'm talking about Washington, D.C., which you brought up, and I'm not done. Then we'll get to L.A., and I'll tell you how you're wrong there, too. Washington, D.C. is America's capital, okay? It's where the entire government works and operates, including the President of the United States and our cabinet and our Congress and our Supreme Court, and the list goes on, and all those who work in the agencies of the federal government. It is not an independent city or government. It is governed by the federal government with a congressional committee that has oversight over D.C. Our nation's capital is under attack by terrorist thugs that are killing, raping, and committing all kinds of havoc. And it is the duty of the federal government
Did you know,
to protect our citizens from enemies both foreign and domestic.
Did you know in April that Trump said that?
Yes. Yes.
Well, did you know that in April Trump actually said that D.C. has the lowest crime rate in 30 years? So how that?
Well, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. I have never heard him say anything. No, I've never heard him say that. That's not true.
Look it up.
I don't need to look it up. I've listened.
He did it in April.
No, he did. Now let's get to L.A.
Look it up, brother.
I'm not looking up, and I'm not your brother, and I'm not looking up. It's not true. Now, Los Angeles is a different situation. He did not send he did not federalize the National Guard and have them patrol the streets of LA like they're doing in DC. What the president did in Los Angeles was different. We had foreign nationals who have invaded our country. You call them migrants, okay? They were attacking federal buildings and federal agents. They were attacking ICE agents, and they were attacking the federal immigration office where the ICE office is located, as well as where captured illegal aliens were being detained. He federalized the National Guard and had them protect the federal building that was under attack from the foreign terrorists that were in LA. It's a totally different situation than DC. Yes.
So you're okay with military in the streets as long as it's going against your interests?
So they're not allowed
to protest. They're not allowed to
protest. No, they were throwing rocks and attacking federal agents, and a federal building was under attack. And no, I do not have a problem with soldiers being used to protect federal buildings. It's done all the time in this country. They weren't patrolling the streets of LA like they are in DC. It's a different situation.
What are your thoughts on January 6th?
No, I'm not talking. We're talking, so every time you lose an argument, you want to bring up another one? Oh, please. Yeah, I mean, come on. How many strikes do I give the guy? I mean, I shoot down a point, he doesn't respond, and then desperate attempt for another one? Please. If you're new to my program, make sure you follow and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or listening on one of the podcast apps. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Brian, this is Dave in Virginia.
Hey, Dave.
I'm glad that the unruly media didn't get to ask any questions.
Exactly.
After traveling 4,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that if Zelensky doesn't want to make any deals, that I wish he gets replaced and just let the Ukrainian people make the decision to have peace.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, they came up with a deal yesterday in Alaska, or the president wouldn't have set up this in-person meeting with Zelensky at the White House on Monday. He would have just called Zelensky and said he's not making a deal. I mean, it's so odd. The media is just mad that they didn't get to bark a bunch of accusations at Putin.
Yep, and you know what? If they acted just like kindergarten Cop before Arnold got control over him.
That's right.
Just like them.
That's right. No doubt about it. Yeah, I know. And you can hear the frustration from the Democrats that have been calling me on the show today. They're just hysterical.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Well,
good to hear from
you.
you. Yeah, good to talk to you too. I want to ask you this: are you in pain? If you are, you want to go call Dr. Philip Appleton and take advantage of his laser wave pain treatment. I've had listeners travel from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton here in Florida. His laser wave pain treatment has rid me of pain 7 times. Arthritis pain in my hand, 30 years of suffering of knee pain from a car accident I was in 30 years ago. I've taken some falls on my skateboard where I've had shoulder injuries that he's rid me of pain with. The laser wave pain treatment, it works. There's no shots, no injections, no medications, no surgery. It's 100% painless. In fact, you don't even feel the pain. And Dr. Appleton performs all the laser treatments himself. You feel the pain. There's no pain. You don't even feel the laser when he's doing it. It's painless, and you don't feel it when he's doing it. It's amazing. And of course, my favorite part is it works. And what the laser does is it repairs the damage that's causing you pain. That's why when he's rid me of pain 7 times, the pain hasn't returned. The first time was 3 years ago in my right knee. The pain hasn't returned because Dr. Appleton repaired the damage that was causing me the pain. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. Now, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays, but you can make an appointment if you'd like. And if you're traveling from out of town, you might want to make an appointment. If you have scans or x-rays, make sure you bring them with you. Dr. Appleton will gladly look them over for you. Here's his number, 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. Thanks for tuning in. All right, let's take a couple of more calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. This is Lee from Texas.
Hey, Lee, can you turn down the volume of whatever device you're listening to me on in the background, if you don't mind?
Sorry.
That's okay. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to tell you, long-time listener, watch you every morning, drink my coffee and watch you. I love your show.
Thank you.
But I just had to let all them Democrats know how stupid they are. They are so stupid. It's unreal. I can't get over it.
Yeah, I know.
You tear them up, and I love your show.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. Thanks so much. All right, have a great weekend. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Scott. I'm calling from Kansas City.
All right, Scott, what's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to know what your final outcome of any piece that comes up, how the piece would look. Mine, to let you know where I'm going, I would like the contested areas to fall to Russia, the Donbass, and the Crimea. Reason being, the Crimea has been fought over about 4 or 5 times. And it's just, let them have it. The Donbass, since the fall of the Soviet Union, has been the scene and the area of sectarian, gang, and political warfare.
They're not getting Crimea back. Crimea's Russia forever now. Putin's never going to get that back.
Yep.
There's nothing, he wouldn't give 1 centimeter of it back.
No.
And,
No,
and Zelensky's position to end the war is for him to return Crimea to Ukraine. I mean, that's just a unrealistic expectation.
Yeah, that's and he knows. I think he knows that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he doesn't want the war to end, Zelensky. Zelensky is a tyrant. Not only has he suspended elections and he's beyond his presidential term, he has abolished opposition political parties. He has shut down freedom of religion, shut down the Russian Orthodox Church, which many Ukrainians are members of, and he shut down media that's critical. In fact, an American journalist died in one of his prisons who was critical of him.
So I'm just wondering why has there not been a Ceausescu counter-revolution against this guy?
Well, he's a dictator. He's in charge, and it's his. He's got an army and everything else. It'll eventually be over. But obviously, Putin gave Trump something that Trump thought was at least somewhat reasonable or negotiable, and that's why he's meeting with Zelensky. And Zelensky's got to have some idea of what it is, and he's traveling to Washington. So, if Zelensky says no and it doesn't happen, it's on Zelensky, not Trump.
And Zelensky has got to be running out of men. I mean, my gosh.
Well, it's been reported in the last week that they're taking recruits that are 60 years of age and older, which is a sign of a country running out of manpower. Although Pamela in Ukraine seems to stay out of the military in Ukraine.
And something else that's not reported about is at the beginning of the conflict, they sent out most of the young women out of the country. Well, there went your potential nursing staff. So what's going on for all the wounded, whether they be...
yeah, exactly.
And that's got to be horrifying. So...
Yep. Well, good. It's good to hear from you. Thanks for your call. I appreciate it. Now, President Trump posted this on Truth Social. A great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with President Vladimir Putin of Russia went very well, as did a late-night phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine and various European leaders, including the highly respected Secretary General of NATO. It was determined by all that the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war, and not a mere ceasefire agreement. Oh, see, we got some new info here, which oftentimes do not hold up. President Zelensky will be coming to D.C., the Oval Office, on Monday afternoon. If all works out, we will then schedule a meeting with President Putin. Potentially, millions of people's lives will be saved. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Trump on Truth Social. That seems very positive, doesn't it, guys? Now, if you'd like to support my channel and my content, become a Patreon supporter. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description of this and every episode of the program. And Patreon supporters, you get access to a whole bunch of stuff that nobody else gets access to, including commercial-free editions of all of my podcast episodes. But you also get access to a lot of exclusive things that both my wife and I both post to Patreon supporters exclusively. All kinds of content, including videos, vlogs, and all kinds of things. And if you become a top Patreon supporter, you get a live thank you shout out on each and every podcast episode if you're a top Patreon supporter. And you get your name on the screen here on YouTube. So the names you will hear now are, of course, the top Patreon supporters. SFjr, thank you. Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, and Janice. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And if you want to go to the website directly, it's patreon.com/SFjr. Real Brian Craig Show. Patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. And the Patreon link is in the description of the episode. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next.